Hey everyone. Yeah, I know I probably talked about this briefly during one of my breaks at work, but it's not the only one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to try to make this quick and talk about two of them. And that is, what is the possible synopsis and plots and stories that both the MLP movie, which is probably, as all fingers are pointing in the direction of, going to be an MLP FIM movie, or at least FIM related, which is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, but also Sonic the Hedgehog, the one that Sony has announced. So, what could be the elements? Now, I know I've talked about them before. And to me, for the MLP movie, I still kind of stick by what I said. I stick by the fact that if you're going to go in this direction with this movie, you need to introduce or reintroduce some elements from the previous generations. I mean, you've already done that with Spike, of course, but you've also done that recently with Turok, I think his name is, in the more recent season finale. So now, though, the question is, who should be next? What should be next? And I think there are some elements that need to be done. Some characters that you need to introduce or reintroduce for a new generation. The first thing I think that needs to be done here, storyline wise, is either leading into it, if FIM is going to be the main focus, is going to be the main thing about this movie, it's going to be FIM related, if not FIM centric. Then I think the first things they need to do is either for the season that might connect with it continuity wise or may not, they need to introduce either in that season or in the movie or in the season that follows, if there are seasons that follow, which I think they will be. I think they need to introduce for this generation Megan. That's right. I stick by that. I think they need to introduce Megan to the group. I think they need to introduce maybe her sister and her brother to the group. And I know some of you are thinking, well, Brian, they've already established there's a human world. There's a human world with multicolored versions of themselves. Oh, it's in human form. Yeah, I get that. But I think some people have pretty much said in several articles and podcasts and stuff that what happened at the end of the second Equestria Girl movie, post credit wise, is just going to lead into another Equestria Girl movie that'll come out maybe before this one does, before the theatrical film. And to me, that would be the best way to go. So leave that separate. But if you're going to do a movie that's going to be in the film, it's going to be, FIM centric, no Equestria Girl whatsoever, then to me, you need to do something story wise, either in the seasons that might connect with it, or after, or even in the movie itself. You need to introduce the Megan character, because I know there are some fans that I'm pretty sure, not saying I know, but I'm pretty sure there are some fans and of the original that are fans of this new one that are wondering when Megan, might show up. Because I think that'll be something to do. Another thing as well that I think, and those are character-wise. Other characters I think that need to be introduced in the movie, maybe into the seasons leading up to the movie, maybe even afterwards. You got to bring the witches in. You got to bring them in eventually to be part of this as well. And like I said, it's either before the movie or after the movie, or even in the movie. You got to bring them in. You got to bring them in. Then, of course, from a location standpoint, you have to introduce Paradise Estate. You got to introduce it so that that's another nod to the previous generation, to the first generation. you got to reintroduce Paradise Estate. He said you got to reintroduce that into the franchise with either before the movie, either in the season that leads up to the movie, or in the movie itself specifically. You need to reintroduce, for this generation, Paradise Estate. Those are things that leading into the movie, or maybe mostly in the movie, that need to be done as far as MLP FIM is concerned, if it is going to be FIM centric, that the 2017 movie needs to focus on. And that is reintroducing old elements and making them new again. And like I said, you take a look at the human characters of Megan and her brother and sister. You take a look at the locations in places like Paradise Estate. You take a look at, the witches. All these elements that help make the original series good, you got to bring back into the fold. Because with the writing staff behind this series and making it as good as a lot of people are saying it is, you have to do that. You have to go in that direction. You cannot avoid that any longer. And like I said, the seasons that lead up to the movie, the seasons that lead up to the movie, as well as possibly the movie itself, and even the seasons that are afterwards, to me are the perfect opportunity to do so. And I know some of you may or may not disagree, but I think you have to realize, and this is coming from somebody that doesn't watch the show that often, that this is probably the best scenario for them to do. It really is. And again, that's just my opinion. And you know what? They like to explore the other dimensional deal, right? How about do something either for the movie, leading up to the movie, or after the movie? Do some kind of dimensional crossover between this current generation, the FIM generation, and Generation 1. Which to me, that will definitely get people talking. And it'll get them to probably want to be ready and probably look forward to the movie coming out in theaters. That'll be something to get them hyped up and pumped, in my opinion. And you could probably even do that for the movie's story arc. Who knows? Or even afterwards. But it'd be something of interest to think of. It really would be. Another character that you might want to try to introduce into the movie, maybe into the seasons that lead up to the movie or after the movie, Katerina. There's another one right there. So these are just elements and characters and locations that they need to do. I mean, Flutter Valley is another location they can reestablish. The Sea Ponies, just to name a few things that I think leading up to the 2017 movie, or in the movie itself, or even afterwards, that Hasbro and the team behind FIM has to really consider bringing in and establishing. Now, as far as the other movies, Sonic the Hedgehog by Sony. Now, I've talked about what possibly they can do with this. Now, there's a lot of rumors going around that it could be an origin story. It could be a story that pretty much already has the characters established and stuff. But to me, I think, Sony and the guy that's writing the story and all that, and the team behind it, have a lot of options that they could look at. Yes, primarily you have the game option. But you also have the options of Archie Comics, the Sonic Universe comics by Archie, the main comic by Archie, and you have the previous animated shows and anime show that was done throughout the decades, throughout the past 20 years, 20 plus years, going on 25 next year. You have all these different resources that you can work with. Now, if I was the writer, if I was the creative team, if I was the head writer of this movie, and I was the creative team behind this movie, I would do my research and I would find out what is the more popular option and direction to go with. And I guarantee you, whether some people want to hear this or not, the Saturday morning Sonic slash Archie Comics direction is probably the best one to go with. Because you have more option there, you have more story to work with, you have characters that you could build a story around to work with and not have to worry about, oh, well, can we do this with this character or that with that character? Because you'd be able to play off whatever you want to do with Sonic or Amy or Tails. You could play that off with maybe someone like a Sally or a Bunny or an Antoine or a Rotor. I mean, these are just ideas. These are just scenarios they could work with. And I believe, and I think they realize this too, that is the best option for them to go in. That is the best option for them to go in as far as resource material goes for the movie to work off of. Again, I could be wrong, and maybe they'll do something totally original. That's fine. But if they need resource material, they need resource material to get some inspiration from. To me, the Saturday Morning Sonic, Saturday AM, Archie Comics way, is the way to go, in my opinion. And again, you could just work with so many different stories there. You could do some loose adaptations, get elements, inspirations from different stories to create an original story. And I believe that's what they need to do. Now, as far as an actual story goes itself, I think primarily they should at least attempt maybe to look at some of the more recent stories. Look at maybe Countdown to Chaos. Here would be a story that you could actually introduce the characters of the Freedom Fighters into, and you could do it correctly, you could do it good, you could do it in a way that throughout the movie you meet these characters, you get to know them, you could build the movie around them, meeting and getting to know each other and kind of remembering the world of old, and then climaxing that towards the end, which would also lead into a possibility of doing more, because then you'd have more people wanting to see more. There's other options, like doing Sonic Adventure adaptation, a Sonic Adventure 2 adaptation. There's those options. And again, like I said, you could do an original story, maybe an origin. But I feel that the best thing for them to do, in my opinion, the best inspiration they can get to do maybe even an original story and origin story, is to go in the direction of the Saturday AM Sonic, Saturday Morning Sonic, and Archie comic direction. And again, I know some people may disagree with that, but you got to think of it from this standpoint. What has more story? What has more depth? And what has more characters that can be worked off of and be put in situations that normally you'd want to put someone like Sonic or Amy or Tails or whoever in, but you can't due to restrictions. What other source of material allows you to do that? See what I'm saying? But that's what I feel they need to do. And again, there's so much they can work with as far as story goes. But again, to me, if you want to keep it fresh, I do a story that's based around, if not adapted from or inspired by the Countdown to Chaos deal. That's just my firm opinion on it. And if not that, Sonic Adventure is another one. But that's just my thoughts on what could be, what should be and could be, my opinions, I should say, on what could be and should be the story elements and plots for both the MLP FIM movie and the Sony Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Let me know if you agree or not with both of them, and I'll talk to you later.